What's good, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be all about social anxiety. Honestly, for me, I've had social anxiety for a really long time, and I feel like this year is the year where I've really started to be able to tackle it and heal from it and be comfortable enough in social settings to not feel drained from them. So I really want to share with you guys some things that I've been learning and some things that have really helped me start to kind of heal from social anxiety. I think a lot of times social anxiety comes from this deep-rooted fear around our own self-worth. A lot of us have these fears that if we are in a room, that we are being a nuisance, that we can't fully be ourselves, or we are going to be judged. We have this deep-rooted fear that we are not worthy of being loved and appreciated. So when we get in these social situations, we feel this anxiety that we can't fully take up space in a room almost. And for me, in order to start healing from my social anxiety, I really had to start unpacking where those feelings came from. You're gonna have to really sit down and dissect, maybe through therapy or maybe through some shadow work, what in your childhood has convinced you that you are not inherently worthy of taking up space in a room? What did your family situation look like? What did your friend situation look like? That can all affect how you feel about yourself today without you even fully realizing it. For me, I know a lot of my social anxiety comes from this trauma that I have of growing up in schools where no one looked like me and I got bullied for it. And I know it also comes from being in a family environment where I just always felt like an outsider. I always felt like a nuisance, even though no one really was setting out to make me feel that way. I just kind of felt like that because of how my family was set up. So that's kind of where a lot of my negative core beliefs about myself come from. And I really start to see that in social settings. My biggest fear is that I'm in a room, and when I walk out of that room, everyone in that room is laughing at me and talking shit about me. That's my biggest fear, which sounds so silly and dumb and very small, but for me, that's constantly in the back of my mind when I'm interacting with people. That comes from my childhood and the things that I learned about myself in these social settings when I was in school and I was getting bullied and all that stuff. So really all social anxiety is you being triggered in these social settings. So you really have to first sit and unpack, if you haven't already, where a lot of your negative core beliefs about yourself and your feelings of worthiness and your self-worth come from. And once you start doing that, you can really start to kind of rewire your brain when you are in these social settings to be able to learn from them and grow past those negative core beliefs. As you're starting to let go of a lot of these limiting beliefs that you have about yourself, you're going to have to start to do some work to start to replace these limiting beliefs with more positive ones about yourself. This is something that I've personally been working on for 3, 4, 5 years maybe, and it's something that I'm definitely still on a journey with. Your presence in any room is a blessing. You are inherently worthy of being able to be yourself and take up as much space in any room that you want, but it may take you time to learn that and to remember that worthiness within yourself. I really encourage you to put into practice every single day doing things that are gonna make you fall back in love with yourself. Learn to spend time with yourself. If you have some degree of social anxiety, you probably already do this a lot, but learn to fall in love with being by yourself. Take yourself out on solo dates, dance in front of a mirror, do things alone that you maybe want to do in a group setting. That is really truly, I think, how you fall in love with yourself and then become more comfortable when you are around other people. Because then you can really start to see okay, this is who I am, this is what I enjoy, this is the energy that I bring to the table. Really encourage you, honestly, if you've never done this before, write down things that you love about yourself. Write a love letter to yourself. Really give yourself the love and attention that you need to remember that you, again, your presence in any room that you're in, whether it's full of people or whether it's just you, is a blessing. One of my biggest pieces of advice to heal from social anxiety is to stop judging yourself for feeling social anxiety. And once you stop judging yourself for that, you'll really be able to start to look at these social situations and look at the fact that you maybe feel a little bit anxious in them and learn from them. And journaling is great for this. I've started journaling after I'm in a social situation, and it's really helped me be able to take a step back and really observe what negative thought patterns came up for me. I'm able to dissect what triggered those feelings of anxiety, maybe what situation I was in, maybe what we were doing, maybe who I was around. Really taking time to sit down and learn from these social situations without judging myself, kind of just really observing how I felt and taking note of it. Doing that has really given me room to, again, rewire my brain, let go of these negative narratives and replace them with more positive ones. And then this leads leads me into one of my biggest pieces of advice when it comes to social situations. When you are actually interacting with people, do not match energies. Do not force yourself to be maybe more extroverted than you wanna be. Don't force yourself to be more loud than you wanna be, or don't force yourself to be more quiet than you wanna be. One thing that I have a really bad habit of doing that I'm really just now starting to kind of get over is I would adapt my personality to match other people that I was around. So when I was in group settings, it was a lot harder for me because I would be around different people and I would try to literally adapt my entire personality. And I think everyone does this to some degree, like don't get me wrong, but I would truly like act different depending on who I was around so that I could fit in more. Really encourage you to take note of when you start doing this. And again, don't judge yourself for it, but stop doing it. Like force yourself to stop doing it. Again, remember that your presence is a blessing. It's unique and it's unlike anyone else's. So therefore, you matching energies with other people is only doing everyone, including yourself, a disservice. I have a lot of friends who are really extroverted and loud, and they will be the ones dancing on top of the bar. And there's times where I might be like that, don't get me wrong, but a lot of times I'm not that person. And for a long time, I always convinced myself that I needed to be that person, that I needed to be that loud, that I needed to be that fun in order to be worthy of being around my friends. And for me, the more I kind of started to do the inward work, the more I started doing shadow work and unpacking the way I was feeling about myself, the more I started to realize that that was really just coming from a limiting belief. In reality, that's just not the truth. You don't have to match energies in order to bring value to any room, because you bring value just by being you. The people in my life, I don't constantly have to prove to them that I am worthy of being around them in order to be around them. My friends, my family, the people in my life are going to love me regardless, and strangers on the street are going to love me regardless. Again, you don't have to match anyone's energy in order to be worthy of taking up space in any room. This is gonna sound very harsh, but usually this anxiety that you're feeling around being in social settings is coming from this idea that everyone is focused on you and what you're doing. In reality, that's not usually the case. Usually, 9 times out of 10, people don't really care what you're doing. Everyone really truly is in their own world. What people see in you, what people get out of interacting with you is 99% coming from their own lens. So when you recognize that your behavior is really not going to affect how other people feel about themselves that much, you can kind of start to feel less pressure to maintain a certain energy when you're around people. You may as well be yourself, because at the end of the day, no one really cares what you're doing that much. Then my last tip is to stop forcing friendships and also stop forcing interactions. At the end of the day, not everyone needs to be your friend. Not every conversation is going to flow and mesh. Not every single person is meant to be your best friend. So if you don't feel an instant connection, if you don't feel like talking to someone, it's okay. You don't have to feel bad or stressed out about someone liking you. And I used to be really bad about this. Like when I would meet new people, I used to always feel like if the conversation didn't flow, if we didn't become instant best friends, then I failed. Like I did something wrong. And that really just came from me wanting to be liked by everyone. And me wanting to be liked by everyone really just came from, again, that negative core belief that like I had to have acceptance or validation from other people in order to deem myself as worthy. Once I've started doing some of this work and once I've started to fall in love with myself, I started to care less about other people liking me. I stopped being so obsessed with everyone wanting to be my friend, with a conversation always, having to be good and having to be forced. Like if I'm tired, if my energy levels are low, or if I'm just not connecting and vibing with someone, I'm not gonna force a conversation. And that's something I'm really proud of, because honestly, it's just for me, that's a sign that my social anxiety is starting to get better, because I really just don't feel, I just don't feel the need to force interactions anymore. And I feel like once you can kind of start to, again, do the work and give yourself room to stop forcing things to work out, you'll really start to feel less anxiety overall. Everyone has different battery and like social battery levels. So once you can really start respecting your own, and once you can really start respecting yourself enough to know that you don't have to be liked by everyone, you will feel so much less anxious. And also, like, if you just don't feel like going out and interacting with people, period, you don't have to do that either. My FOMO came from, again, that feeling of me not being worthy if I wasn't showing up every single time my friends were doing something. Again, respect your own social battery levels. And if you feel like FOMO is constantly getting in the way of that, then you really need to dissect where that is coming from and start to heal from it. So again, really it just comes down to doing the work, unpacking why you feel the way you feel, becoming more aware of these feelings when you are in social situations, and then rewiring, right? Unlearning these negative core beliefs and then replacing them with positive thought patterns, replacing them with feelings of worthiness, with feelings of love for yourself. And again, with the knowingness that your presence in every single room is a blessing. Like truly and honestly, just by being you, you are a blessing to whatever it is that you're doing, whatever room that you're in, and to whoever it is that you're interacting with. Honestly, every tip that I shared after that is something I do recommend you work on and keep in mind. But all these things will start to come more naturally once you start doing the work, once you start doing the shadow work, once you start going to therapy if you need to, and approaching this whole situation from a non-judgmental perspective. Whenever you have anxiety over anything, observe how you're feeling, sit with that anxiety instead of judging it, and then you can really start to let it go. So hopefully this was helpful in some way. Again, I really appreciate you guys for sticking around. If you guys stick around for this entire video, thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you guys so much for showing up for yourselves. I'm really grateful to every single one of you for tuning in and for being on this journey of learning and growth with me. Feels really good to be back and sitting down and talking with you guys. So yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.